stuff to give monies out and things like that. He's sort of hasn't got the capacity to do that. But I think he wants to move the area forum towards that.
Chair, the meeting has now started. If
right,
you're
okay,
ready.
Right, okay. We'll crack on then. Well, thanks to Ben and thanks to Natasha for sorting that one. So welcome to the East Strategic Neighbourhood Forum. Before we start, thanks to Jack for chairing the last meeting. So have we any apologies, Ben?
Chair, we've had apologies from Councillor Stephen Homer and from Councillor Lane.
Okay, thank you. Can we move on to the minutes? The minutes of the last meeting, were they a correct record? Does anybody like to move them as a correct record?
I'll move them, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Do we have a seconder, Chair?
Yeah, I'll second that one.
Thank you, Councillor Sweeton.
Thank you. Is there anything arising from the minutes that people want to bring up? Okay. Just to as part of the minutes from the previous meeting, the June meeting, where we did have a discussion regarding the future of the area forums. We did have a meeting between chairs and the leader regarding the future of the forums. He was very keen, and I'm afraid it hasn't been transmitted onto this agenda, that there is a more local focus to the meetings, that they're sort of targeted at the area we're concerned with. I must admit, I also sent an email to this effect in terms of what I'd like to have seen on the agenda. Some of those things have been reflected and some haven't. I'm following that up with again with Councillor Cooney and also with the senior leadership team when this meeting is completed. Well, not quite this evening, perhaps tomorrow maybe, but I will follow that one up. Can we move to item 3? Can we have an update on the tornado then, Emma, if you would?
Yes,
oh, and
thank you very much.
Sorry, before you start, can I just ask all presenters that because of the way the agenda has been structured, we do need to keep everybody to a sort of an absolute maximum of 10 minutes on their presentation. And some presentations, if members have heard them before, we might ask you to be a bit quicker still. So, okay, Emma, do you want to fire away?
Yes, thank you very much. I'll just share my screen if that's okay. Thank you for having me. My name's Emma Varnum. I'm the Assistant Director for Operations and Neighbourhoods. This is an unprecedented event that happened in the new just between Christmas and New Year in Stalybridge. And whilst I appreciate I'm going through the facts of what happened afterwards, I know there may be some people watching this. It continues to be extremely distressing situation for those homeowners who are dramatically affected. It can't be missed either that the last few days have been extremely stormy, and that also must have caused some distress. But hundreds of households were affected, right across Stalybridge specifically. Storm Gerrit was actually named as a tornado. It affected many different properties right across the Stalybridge and obviously into Carbrook. It was declared a major incident in line with our civil contingencies procedures, and there was a multi-agency response that night and in the following days. I've got some notes here in terms of, obviously, we stood up a rest centre, but only one family attended. We were so incredibly fortunate that there were no casualties as a result of this incident. It's quite surprising, really, considering the damage and the effect to the infrastructure within the region. So during that night and the following 24 hours, we received over 1,000 calls from residents seeking advice, alerting us to trees, huge damage to personal property and indeed the highway infrastructure. And so it was a major activity and major incident. All properties that we'd had a call about were inspected by the evening of Thursday, the 28th. And following that, we gave advice, and section 78 notices were issued. There's about 24 of those, and then 77 notices were issued. So there are a huge number of properties which, unfortunately, residents weren't able to inhabit until work had been completed. This is really significant in terms of people having to stay immediately, sometimes with family and friends, and then be in a form of temporary accommodation, whether that's rented accommodation or hotel accommodation. Many of the properties actually belong to the social landlord locally, Jigsaw Homes, and they were impacted also with helping us with remedial action and supporting us with some of the temporary accommodation later on. So we had around over 75 staff from our own council staff. There was a huge amount of blue light support as well. But over the Christmas period, during the Christmas closure, about 75 staff came in to support the response. And we prioritised, obviously, clearing as quickly as possible debris and a huge amount of fallen trees, and indeed some of the infrastructure which was destroyed during the tornado. That work has continued throughout the month of January. So we have had to fell and remove hundreds of trees within Stalybridge and the surrounding area, and we have extended the search and the survey into our green space and into our countryside. We took a risk-based approach to that, making sure, obviously, that main highways and side roads were covered first. Of the 135 properties affected, only 23 remain uninhabited as of the 23rd. We have been in contact with many residents as on a regular basis. Our building control office and our licensing offices have been in contact directly with residents, and we will continue to connect with residents. If residents, we have got emails. If you want to get in contact with us in the council, please go either via the customer service portals, which are freely available on our website, or indeed, if you are experiencing financial hardship, you can come to us via the navigators and the addresses there. The Forever Manchester Fund, who are a fund set up following the dramatic fire of Woolworths in the centre of Manchester, a charitable trust was set up, and there is some funding that is available through the Forever Manchester Fund. The trustees of that fund approached us directly. We will be, in the next 10 days, contacting those residents who we've had contact with regarding the 77 and 78 notices, those people who've had significant damage to their properties. And we'll be making contact with those residents in order to connect with them and be able to make a small payment to them from the Forever Manchester Fund It is a small payment, but we're extremely grateful for that generosity, and we'll be passing that directly on to those residents. We will be emailing those residents, and then we'll contact them about making payments directly to them. So I'm showing you here some of the many councillors and residents who might be watching this online will know these scenes. They are quite dramatic, and I'm sorry if you find them distressing, but they were unprecedented. And here is also some of the staff that came out to connect. If you have any concerns or follow-up comments that you would like, please do feel free to send them to us through our contact centre or the navigator centre, and they will come straight to us. Thank you.
Okay. Have we any questions from members, Ben?
I can't see any hands. Councillor Billington's hands raised, Chair, as is Councillor Jackson's.
Hi, I just want to, I think this is the first public meeting that we've had since the start out.
Sorry, Councillor Billington, I think we're losing your signal.
All right.
Chair, I think Councillor Swinton. Yes, that's a bit better.
Yeah. I think you're coming through now, Billy. Liam.
All right. Yeah, I just want to say that, thanks to the officers who did all the work and the staff as well. And the work very diligently throughout the night over Christmas. People expect to have a Christmas holiday, and that was interrupted. And, I'm very grateful for all the work that happened in Stalybridge South, which, was one of the most affected wards. And, the work that they did over the weekends was absolutely amazing. So I'd like to thank the staff for that. And, for Emma, Debbie Watson, who was also one of the directors on call as well, Michael Robinson as well, who were absolutely great in dealing with casework queries. So thank you very much.
Brilliant. Yeah.
I'll pass that on. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we second that?
Jan, do you want to come in next?
I'm unmuting you, Doreen. Okay, yeah, thank you. I just want to echo that, actually, what Councillor Billington said. You mentioned about 75 staff being dispersed. I mean, Stalybridge North was greatly affected with families being placed in hotels. And I really do think so, apart from the staff and yourself, Emma, and all those in the silver and bronze response team, I really do think that there needs to be credit given to our communities for being so resilient in responding to this incident, this unprecedented incident. They all helped each other in Stalybridge North. We turned out and they were all brushing everybody's debris and supporting each other, which I thought was fantastic. And also unsung heroes that came out, not being a nuisance, but I know of somebody that works for BT and, walked up the length of Huddersfield Road, disconnecting lamp columns, so these are the people as well as the staff that need to be credited. So I've just got a couple of questions, actually, just to say that it is an incident that none of us wanted to happen, but will there be a wash up afterwards to see, if there was, we've just had the Hyde fire and, that again with the emergency services, what I can see has been brilliant, but we can always improve. So I just wondered if there's a wash-up meeting, and also I've been asked by the British Legion, because they've been supporting families, whether, and this could be prescribed through GP practices, but there has been certain families greatly affected with children, and whether there was any counselling on offer for those families that have greatly been affected. And they were wondering that. It was a shout out from them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So yes, there is a planned evaluation process that we will undertake, which we normally do with our civil contingency partners. So that will be undertaken. Initially, we will do a response evaluation, and then we will ask for feedback as part of that process as well. So, Councillor Jackson, yes, I'll follow that up with you in terms of your question about the British Legion offline, if that's okay, and I shall follow that up with my colleagues, no problem.
Brilliant, thank you. Is there any other questions at all, Ben? From
Councillor Sweeton and Councillor Dickinson have got their hands raised as well.
Dave, do you want to go next?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Obviously, echo everything that's been said, and Councillor Jackson did pick up a little bit of this. I want to thank the very, very distressed people that, as councillors, we encountered over the 24 hours and 48 hours after the hurricane. They were very understanding. There was a lot of pressure on them. There was a lot of pressure on ourselves as a council. I'm very proud of how the council reacted. All the times we've been through these scenarios with the emergency services, we put it into action. It was terrific. We did what we needed to do. And I do thank the general public for going along with us at a very, very difficult time. I want to say, before the wash-up meeting, I do want to say, Emma, that, we've had the fire the other day. If we get something like this in the interim, I don't know about my fellow councillors, but when I was sending an email to the officer that was on call, I was getting an email back saying they're on holiday. That's not where we need to be. It should be that if they're on call, they should disable that technical comeback and be there for us. Because I wasn't know whether in my messages we're getting through or whether we weren't. That is the only thing I picked up on that. The rest of it was terrific. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Doreen?
Yes, thanks, Chair. I'm going to sound like gloom and doom now, and I don't really mean to. The people that worked on the night were great, and I'm not knocking that at all. But to say it was brilliant, no, it wasn't. There were people who had to get out of a house, whose car had been hit by rocks, and they said to our workers, well, you've got to get out your houses, and say, yeah, well, where can I go? Well, I don't know. And to have Duckingfield as the nearest point isn't good enough. What I'm trying to say now is, from any emergency, we must learn lessons. We must do better. And if we keep slapping ourselves on the back, and I'm saying this in this meeting, you don't learn lessons because you think, well, we were fine. No, things were good and we did the best we could. I absolutely get that. But I think some things could have been done an awful lot better. And I think we need, as a councillor, somebody said to me, do we have an emergency contingency? Do we have, do we have something that if something like this happens, we don't only have the blue light service, but we send transport to help people. We send this. I said, I honestly don't know. And that's terrible. As a councillor, for the years I've been there, I have no idea what our emergency strategies are. I was on TFGM for years and I knew all their emergency strategies. I knew exactly what happened if a tram came off the track or whatever. Everybody was called in, certain people I'm talking about. And that, it doesn't seem that coordinated in Tameside. And I'm not knocking any of
the I'll come back to. Are you happy for me to reply?
Yeah, fine.
There's two aspects. I'll go to the last point first, Councillor Dickinson. I think you're right to say I'm happy for me to talk for you what our emergency arrangements are there. We are part of the Greater Manchester Resilience Forum, so we're connected with the police and the fire service, and we have their support throughout that process. There is then a gold, silver, bronze rota, which is at all times, and we share the Greater Manchester gold rota as well. And that connects also with our emergency services. But as part of that, you've got on call all the time highways engineers, arboriculturalists, social care support, and a range of different professionals who are for 24/7 on call to do that, and that is rotated, and we attend training for that. I think you make a good point, and I'm really happy to be part of a member training for me to give you the highlights of that and how that works in the background. We use a very specific format, and that sort of, and we're trained to use that. There's always training that we need to do. I'll be honest with you, every disaster is never the same. The blue light service will tell you that. So it does require you, any acute event requires a very calm, and we have a specific acronym that we go through, response, and every Christmas period, which is on a rolling rota program, we have a pack that's pulled together for us in order to follow those processes. But I'll be honest with you, for those who've done it lots of times, some of those things come naturally, and then when you're new to it, it's in learning curve. What I will say is that duck and field, whenever you have a disaster like that, you choose a rest centre well away from the event. So I know it didn't feel great for Stalybridge, but at that time, unfortunately, you make a decision right at that time.
Can I just interrupt you, Emma?
Yeah.
The ducking field was fine. It's the fact that those people didn't have transport, and we didn't provide any.
Okay, so I'm willing to take that on board as part of the evaluation.
That's all I'm saying. We need to learn.
I'm disappointed if that was the case, and I hear what you would say, but I'll take that on board. And obviously, we'd want to transport people. I have to say, I think for anybody who was on that evening of the 27th, I know when the Manchester Arena bomb happened, it's a very dynamic situation, and you're not sure about what you're sending in to come out, I suppose. But we always learn from these situations, and we always welcome evaluation. No disaster is ever the same. And the only thing you can hope is that if you are in charge on that night, you make the best decisions you can at the time. And if you're a police commander, you get more practice at it. But honestly, I have to commend my colleagues who were on the 27th and the 28th. They did an incredible job, and they worked really well with their colleagues. I understand, Councillor Dickinson, you're right, backslapping isn't what we need. And certainly I don't think residents who are still suffering now would appreciate it, but they need to know that we're there for them.
Yes.
And there is a system, and it's quite a clear system in order to support them and to know. And last night, with the fires, we kicked in again. Some of the same officers who were on the 27th were out doing the fire in Hyde. So yes, it's been an unfortunate winter, but I happily take on any responses, and I will send an email to you all locally for your feedback. Thank you so much. We do appreciate it.
No, I think that's helpful.
Can I just say, Chair, I would like, we do members development on lots of things, and I would find it very knowledgeable, shall I say, if we did one on our emergency reaction, so that when people ask me, I could say, oh yes, this happens, that happens. And I'm not saying, well, I don't know, because that just doesn't sound good.
No, I'll give you some reassurance, and I've got colleagues on this call who are part of that rota, and so they're fully aware of what their responsibilities are. But I'll be honest with you, practice always does help you to keep your assurity there. I will happily give you a briefing on what we do and what's available to us as a local authority. Yeah,
that would be great. Thank you.
Brilliant. So one point from myself, Emma, it would probably be useful for members if you could, obviously there's you said about emailing us to get some feedback on where into the process, but it might be useful if there's some if there's a document which outlines sort of the emergency process and procedure or something, which, you know, puts everything you said into one place, I think that would be quite handy for members to have for reference, just so that they know how the thing works, really.
Happily, we'll give you a briefing note, definitely. Don't forget that the emergency line is 342 222 that is your way in. I understand we're looking at the availability of lines. That night was unprecedented, I'll be honest. And the team that took those calls worked incredibly hard. I can see Alison here, whose team were doing that, and they absolutely, for those days, I've never known a group that have had to work incredibly hard at doing it. So so there you are, there's social care and there's engineers, and there's you drew from every single different department over those days. But I am really happy to give you a briefing on that. It's fascinating how it works. It's absolutely, you know, it's incredibly interesting, and I'm happy to do that for members.
I think that'd be really helpful.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. And have we any more questions before we need to move on?
I can hear Councillor Beardmore.
So sorry, can I.
I'm very sorry, but I don't know how to raise my hand on this. So I'm really sorry. I just wanted to say two things. I think the council officers were amazing, and we have praised you to our residents, and we did so on Saturday to a rather aggravated resident. So I would also like to say how good Johnny Reynolds' office were as well, particularly Joanne, and she helped a number of people in terms of getting their insurance claims sorted out. So I think we ought to mention that as well, Chair. Just on the
well done, Joanne.
Yeah, she was amazing. So I think we need to say that. The other thing was the Forever Manchester Fund. Do people have to apply individually, or can we help at all as councillors? Or I just wondered what the process was for that.
It has been identified, Councillor Beardmore. We will be writing to those people who will be in recipient. It is as I said in the presentation, it's ring fenced to those who have received a section 77 or 78. We have that record. We have their contact details. We will be contacting them directly.
That's great. Thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you for that. And Ben, is there any questions from members of the public at all?
I will just double check, Chair. No, we haven't had any sent in by email.
Okay. Well, thanks, Emma. And you know, I think everybody's around, you know, has said everything there is to say about, you know, how grateful we were for people turning out, and the performance that officers put in, and also, you know, the strain that it must have been put on them, and particularly in the sort of Christmas period when really they want to be home with their families. So if you can pass all that on to people and take away the actions from this discussion, I think that'd be great. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll pass it on, and we really do appreciate it. But obviously, our thoughts are with those families who still are displaced. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Can I just before we move on to the next meeting, I realise that we're at nearly 7:10 already, and the agenda is impossibly long, and I'm going to close the meeting at 8 o'clock. So I'm suggesting that the item, I think it's 8, 9, and 8 and 9 we're probably not going to get to. So I think we need to, if we do, carry those over to the next meeting, but I think for officers who you know, who've come for those meetings, for those items, I really don't think there's a chance in hell of us getting there. So if you want to make yourself scarce, probably.
Sorry, that's me, Chair, just to speak up. I'm happy to do that if that would be your preference.
Yeah, I mean, I as I say, we've got 50 minutes to get through the rest of it. So, and I just don't want to, you know, to waste your time, really.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to take any questions afterwards. But yeah, if that's your preference, I'm happy to.
Yeah, people have your email details if they want to talk to you directly about the presentations, don't they? And you know, so grateful for the fact that it was circulated. Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Item 4, the budget. Ashley's going to present. Is that right?
Yeah, I am, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, and what I'm just going to say to you, Ashley, is that members, I can't believe there's a member around on the call tonight that hasn't gone to one of your presentations, either from the Conservative or Labour groups or from the scrutiny. So if you can confine your comments to sort of areas of specific interest to this area, which is, as you know, Mosley, Stalybridge and Duckenfield, that would be great. So fire away.
Not a problem. So what I was going to say is, as you said, most people have already seen this, Chair. So my intention was only to share very quickly the final slide, which was on consultation, which is specific and an update, which is we've received 193 responses across the borough. I don't have it to this forum, but when we close the consultation, I will have that analysis and I will be able to circulate it to forum members. As you can see, we've got it open until the 2nd of February. What I would say for any member of the public to have their say, it's still open. We are still seeking views. It's available on the website under our big conversation. And for those that wish to fill out a paper copy, they are available from our libraries across the forum. So I don't, as I said, we've got 14th of February for Cabinet, 27th of February when it will come to Council, where it will be debated and adopted. And as we work through over the next 5 years, we intend to do more consultation, more attendance here at forums, where we will start to drill into what it means for the area and make sure that we increase our member engagement as we go through.
That's great. Thank you for that. Could I ask members if there's any questions for Ashley on, well, I suppose anything you want to ask really regarding the budget? Have we any hands raised, Ben?
We don't appear to have any hands raised, Chair.
Right, I think you've done us all in, Ashley. Are there any questions from the public at all, Ben?
And no questions from the public either, Chair.
And them as well, probably, Ashley. So anyway, so people know the procedures. Members will be aware of procedures for contacting Ashley regarding the budget. We've had all the documentation information. So obviously, if you need to get back to him, do so. So thanks, Ashley, for showing up, and we'll move on to item 5.
No problem, Councillor.
Okay, thank you. The carer strategy. Is it Alison White we've got for doing the presentation on that?
It is, Chair. Yes, I'll share my screen.
Thanks, Alison.
Hopefully, can you see that?
Yes.
Oh, fabulous, it's worked. So thank you. My name's Alison White. I work in adult social care, and we just wanted to bring along our carer strategy to share with you, because obviously, now it won't move. Hold on. So obviously you probably all know this already, but we want to remind everybody that a carer is a person who provides informal, and or unpaid support to a partner, family member, friend or neighbour who is ill, struggling or disabled and could not manage without this help. Our carers save the council across the country, not just in Tameside, lots and lots of money by the work that they do for free. And it's really important that we as a council recognise that and support our carers. So what we tried to do was a piece of consultation with our carers. So throughout 22 and 23, we've been talking to our carers about what's important to them, what sort of things matter to them, how we can improve that offer. And as you can see on the slide, they gave us lots of, I'm not going to read it all out because we'll go on longer than 10 minutes, but they gave us lots of positive feedback about what matters to them as carers and how we as council members can support them to actually feel included, feel listened to and feel really supported, because they do a phenomenal job for us. So our vision for adults is that we want all people to live in the place we call home, with the people and things that we love, in communities where we look out for one another, doing things that matter to us. And that's the same for our carers. They want time away from their loved ones sometimes to get a break, to get support and have the opportunity to do the things that matter to them.
I'm sorry, Alison, can I just interrupt you? Because we are short on time, can we just, instead of reading the presentation back to us, could you because we've had this in advance, it's publicly available online, so people have been able to see it. So if we could just maybe, just a summary of it and any developments that have happened since, and then take questions from councillors, if that's okay. Thank you.
That's fine, thank you. So there are 6 main categories that you will have seen that are what our carers have said matter to them. We've got a carer centre, you've probably all seen it at the front of Tameside 1, where you're all very welcome. They're doing lots of coffee mornings, a lot of events to support carers. And we've got a really good carers offer. We've been doing some work with the Tameside Emergency Card, Community Response Service, Tameside and Glossop Talking Therapies, and Be Well Tameside, that our carers are really appreciating. How our carers can get support is probably quite important. They can come into the carer centre, they can email the carer centre, they can go on the carer centre's Facebook, or they can phone us. And we're always willing and welcoming new people. So our next steps is to develop a delivery plan for the strategy of the 6 areas that carers said were important. Work with all our partners, because obviously that's key to the success of this. Continue to listen to our carers' voice and feedback to our carers annually on progress. And we're planning to launch this in March, which is really exciting because it's just around the corner. Thank you. Any questions?
Well, I would just sort of kick us off, really. I mean, it strikes me that, for carers, we've had the presentation about the tornado, which obviously created a huge amount of instant problems for people. But obviously, carers are going through this sort of thing, albeit in a different sort of way, but every day for however long. What is it you think that we can do as a group of councillors in our area, in the East area, and particularly what is it that we can do to sort of support the carers network? What are there specific? You mentioned sort of the sort of drop in and how carers can get support, but what is it you think that we could do as councillors to to support the network generally?
So I guess it's about signposting those people that come to you as carers to the carers centre, because that's where they can get the support, and that's where the staff there will help them access the services that best meet their needs and best support them going forward. So it's about making sure if somebody comes to you, you give them the number, you give them the email, and you signpost them to the carers centre.
Yeah. Has anybody else any questions they want to ask Alison? Ben, have we any hands there?
Councillor Jackson has her hand raised, Chair.
Jan, do you want to fire away?
Yeah, it's not a question actually, Chair. It's just a comment to say that I think it's a brilliant document. It's about time we had a document like this for carers. We all know of carers, and some of us have probably been carers or will do in the future. And to have their voice heard, and for them to have be inclusive, to be listened to, I think is so important, because we depend on them, and there has to be a strategy going forward to support them, or they need to know that they're being supported in some way. So we welcome it, and I think it's great. We do need to get it out there, and you know, to encourage more. It's daunting. I think it's daunting for a lot, you know, when the parents are growing older and you don't want to put them in homes, and you know, you want to keep them at home, and you have to give up your life. We all know people that have done that. So, but you know, it's less daunting if they know that there's somebody there to listen and there's the support there. So I think it's a great report, Alison. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one more point, Alison. I mean, are there any sort of within the sort of service within Tameside, are there sort of gaps that you've identified, which you know have caused an issue in terms of for carers, in terms of, you know, provision, services, etc. Things which perhaps other authorities are doing, which we're not?
I think we've found through our consultation that we're not engaging as well as we should with younger carers. So Jenny, our team manager, is linking in with children's services to look at how can we do activities that are more engaging for our younger carers, because they tend to not want to come to the carer centre, and it's more difficult to do things that are enjoyable and supportive of them. So she's looking at that at the moment.
No, I think that's a really important point, and I think that if members can have a think about how we can support that, you know, help in that sort of area, I think that would be really, really positive. Have we any other questions? Otherwise, if we questions from the public, Beth?
I can see that Councillor Tafine Sharif has her hand raised, Chair.
Just on that point, yeah. We have young carers, Tameside, or Tameside Young Carers so called, and I mean, I went and visited Christmas time, and there were 100, if not over 100 young carers there. So they're really engaged. I'm sure you know about them, Alison, and they're really engaged, the young people in that one.
That's fab. Thank you.
Brilliant, thanks, Steph. Any questions from the members of the public then?
We don't, Chair.
Okay. Well, Alison, that's really helpful. Thanks for that. Again, you know, I think it's an item worthy of a longer discussion, really. And I would sort of urge everybody, if they've not managed to have a look at the documents online, to do so, and to get back to Alison if you've any thoughts after the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so item 6, how to become a foster carer. It's Gordon Murray, is it?
So, Chair, we've actually got Meena Kumar, who's now.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Fire away then.
Thank you, Chair. Let me just share my screen. Hello?
Sorry, Meena, if you just go back onto the PowerPoint option at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner, there's just if you move your mouse to the right, you can see there's a start slideshow option just to the left.
Yep.
If you just click on that, and then you should be able to run through the slides. Yeah, that's the one.
All right. Okay. So I'm here to talk about how to become a foster carer. I've already shared the PowerPoint and as Councillor Billington has mentioned. I won't go in the nitty-gritties of my slides, but what is fostering and what it means to our local children. It's so important, and it's such a massive drive that we are trying to do in Tameside. So who can foster? Children and young people need foster carers from all backgrounds with wide range of life, work and care experiences. So we are trying to recruit foster carers from variety of background with different life skills, with experiences and qualities. So we accept and welcome application from people from all walks of life, from different nationalities, religion, gender, ages, and backgrounds. And this is one lovely quote that I picked it up from one of our foster carer, who says that it's the whole family that fosters, not just the foster carer. It's so important to make the child feel like part of your family from the start, and no matter how long they are with you for. And then I just want to go straight to the journey to become the foster carer. So basically, these are the steps. If somebody wants to become a foster carer, what they need to do. So as part of the first point, they need to make an inquiry with us in the fostering department. So they can either contact us via the email, the website, or they can call us, and that will be picked up by one of the staff members in my service, who will be the recruitment officer, who will have a little chat with that person or the family who is inquiring to become a foster carer. And after that, the next step would be they need to register their interest, in registration of interest to become a foster carer. That means that we will be asking them to go through a telephonic screening with us, which can take roughly about 30 minutes. So we will be filling a form about them, their family, lifestyle, and why they want to become a foster carer. And then the next step would be that we send a qualified social worker, a fostering social worker, to visit the family in their home, to meet with their family members and talk and discuss about their plans to foster and explore their lifestyle. And also, this is an opportunity for fostering social worker to actually view the accommodation and the proposed fostering room that the family is thinking. And the next step is basically that we invite the family to attend a pre-approval training. So this training is called Skills to Foster training course, and this is mainly done in the evenings for about 5 sessions. And this aims to prepare the family for the fostering role, and this also provides an opportunity to people to meet with other applicants, and they can start establishing network and talk about their motivations and why they want to become a foster carer. And then we send them an application form after a successful attendance at Skills to Foster course, which actually talks about their family life, which in this application form, we also ask them to give us a consent, which is mandatory statutory checks, for example, police check, medical checks. And this is not exclusive to Tameside. This is a process which is underpinned by the legislation and fostering regulations 2011. After this, we will allocate an assessing social worker who will visit the family for about 6 to 8 times to get to know them. And basically, this is a time when the assessing social worker will assess the family atmosphere, whether, and they will have different questions. It's a very detailed assessment about, can this family provide safe and secure and a stable home to a child, and can they meet with the child's overall needs? So once the assessment is completed, the assessing social worker compiles the report and recommend whether the family is suitable to become a foster carer and which type of fostering scheme would better suit to the family. And the family is also given an opportunity to share their views and comments on the report presented. And then in the next step is the fostering panel. So basically, the applicant's detailed report is presented to fostering panel to consider their suitability. And panel consists of various people who comes from either fostering, adoption background. Some members could have spent time in foster care themselves. So the panel may have questions to the applicants and to the assessing social worker. And towards the end, panel makes a recommendation about the approval, and then that recommendation goes to the agency decision maker, who is the assistant director in council in social care. And then the final decision has been is made by the ADM, assistant decision maker. And if in case the family is not approved for some reason, the assessing social worker is able to provide the explanation, and there may be chance for reapply in the future. On an average, this journey of approval can take about 8 months from the first point of inquiry, and which may sound a long time, but the idea is, and the process is, that we make sure that the applicants are suitable and we prepare them as best as possible to foster a child and young person in the local community. And towards the end of this process is matching and placement. So basically we take care of a good matching process. Once the foster carers are approved, then the supervising social worker, who is a fostering worker, will contact to discuss the first placement, and we will work very closely with the foster family to find the right match, and so is for the foster child as well. We also offer ongoing training and development, so that it helps the carers to continuously grow as foster carers. So they will receive ongoing support and guidance from the supervising social worker as well. So that is technically the process how to become foster carer. In my presentation, I have also shared some fostering myths. I hope you had chance to go through those, and we're breaking those myths. And we welcome people to actually get in touch with us. And there's another quotation that I have added here, which says, "Fostering has changed my life in every possible way. To anyone considering fostering, go for it. I did, and I haven't looked back." And fostering can make real difference to our children's life. It's hugely rewarding. I mean, I have worked in fostering for many years, and I see when children are thriving in placements and doing so well, that glow and that happiness on foster carers' face is unmatchable. In Tameside, we also run a referral bonus scheme, which provides £300 to anybody who will refer to a family or friend or refer to us, a foster carer. So when the first placement is made, we provide that £300 referral bonus to the person who made the referral. And there are various ways how you can contact us via social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, email address, phone number, or council website page. So why I'm here today, I'm also here to actually request you all to, sorry, I'm just trying to stop sharing my screen. To spread the message, in your local areas, in community. We are actively recruiting foster carers, and we are planning future events as well. So the aim is to create a foster friendly borough. And I'm really requesting and urging that even you go back and speak to your community members, please spread the word. We are having a lot of coffee mornings, info sessions, online and virtual and face to face. We are also taking part in Fostering Unfiltered project, which is with Greater Manchester 10 local authorities, which is also the marketing project. So yeah, thank you.
That's great. Thanks for that. Are there questions from members?
Yes, I can see Councillor Billington has his hand raised, Chair.
Liam, do you want to fire away?
Hi there. Yes, Mina, thank you very much for that presentation. So we've just had a Ofsted inspection, and I was just wondering, how do you feel that Ofsted, I know that Ofsted report hasn't been published yet, but did you receive any feedback from Ofsted in regards to how well the fostering service is run? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Billington. What I understood from our senior management, and this was the question that we were discussing today in the morning. Unfortunately, I will not be able to share the Ofsted inspection outcome result feedback, because that's the statutory procedure, because it's not published out yet. I believe it's published on 14th of February next month, in a few weeks' time. As any inspection, the department worked really hard in terms of providing evidence how well we're doing in the service. Our relationship with foster carers, that we are improving and diligently working on making sure the children who are placed in foster cares are safe.
Okay.
Thank
well,
you
it's a good try. It was a good try, Liam, but I thought we might get. Thought that might be the answer. Have we any other members with a question?
I can't see any hands raised, Chair, and I can't see any questions in the inbox.
Right,
either.
thank you. No, I think I would urge people to come forward to Nina if you've ideas for places where you know, we can advertise this service and we can get people involved and engaged. It's certainly something perhaps we'll raise with the coordinator of the big local project as possibly an area where we could run some sort of event, if that would be of use to you, Nina.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
May I ask a question? Sorry, I can't find my hand now.
Right, fire away.
Right, there it is. Just out in the community, obviously you're doing quite a lot of work, and I have actually seen it, so it's wonderful to see that, Mina, and your team. Are you doing anything with like the temples, mosques, any of the religious institutions, churches? Lots happens across these places. So anything specific and anything we can help you with also?
That's so great and music to my ears, Councillor Sharif. I'm new to Tameside. I just recently started working and took over fostering. That is in pipeline, and that's on the plan for delivery to approaching the faith group leaders and approaching the faith places of worship, so that we can actually join hands and spread the words, create the awareness that we are recruiting. I have worked extensively in London on this similar sort of tones and managed to spread such a massive, huge awareness in the communities and local areas. So definitely that's on the plan. Thank you.
Fantastic. What you'll find in Tameside is these places are great community hubs. So yeah, really encourage that, and really encouraged to hear that you will be taking that forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, I can see that Councillor Billington has his hand raised again.
Okay, Liam, do you want to come back?
Yeah, I'm just confused. What has religion got to do with the price of fish? You know, these children need care, love, and attention. It shouldn't matter whether Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Hindu, whatever, right? And I think, you know, when you start bringing religion into these things, it starts getting very, very messy. And, you know, we should be looking at a service agnostically without looking at colour, religion, creed, sexuality, whatever. You know, at the end of the day, we're here to deliver a service regardless of who you are. So I just think, you know, that needs to be taken out of it. Thank you.
If I may come in, please. I think that's been taken completely out of context. I said they're great community hubs. The communities get there of all faiths, actually. You know, having been the mayor and having been around for all of these, in particular, all across Tameside, they are great community hubs. And I would really encourage you to go to these institutions where the communities meet. You'll find hundreds of people there. Lots happen in these institutions. It's got nothing to do with religion as such. Churches, mosques, temples have opened their doors to everyone. Thank you.
I'm for everybody. I don't need to go to some religious group or organisation. Thank you.
I'm sure you might have gone to
Can I just come in?
To affirm that my commitment to my residents.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the residents are. So you'll find that lots of fairs and yoga and all sorts of things happen, and they're open to everyone.
I think that's it. I think that's the important point. Really, is that it's not about you know, I don't think it's about sort of people being, you know, a particular denomination or something. It's more about where large numbers of people congregate, really. So I would, you know, it's equally valid. I'm trying to think. Stadium Celtic or something, you know, if you could organise something there, I mean, that would be equally relevant. You know, I suppose, and you know, I can see where Liam's coming from. We don't want to, you know, it's not about, you know, what you believe; it's about who you are, really, isn't it, as an individual? Nina, do you want to come back at all?
Chair, could I rate? Sorry, I can't find this hand thing. Could I ask a question?
Yeah.
I just want, Mina, I'd like to know, how do you relate to the family hubs? Because for me, I just wondered what the link is, and do you go through them to find to advertise the service, or could I get some information on that, please?
Sorry, Councillor, can you repeat the question? I couldn't hear
I
it.
wondered how do you work with the family hubs? which I have to say are a bit of a mystery to me. And I
Okay.
just wondered whether you go through those to promote the service or work with local people.
I'm really sorry. I'm new to Tameside. I'm also learning about the service, but definitely Family Hub. If it's about local community and approaching them, we can definitely look into that, and I can get back to you after speaking with my colleagues, if that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's important. It's an important point, because we've got this service which is up and running. We've got the service Family Hub for the East area is on Ridge Hill, so in the heart of the community there. So I think it's an important resource which we need to be using.
Yes, thank you.
Are there any other questions, points that people want to raise?
I can't see any further hands raised, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Ben. So thanks, Nina. That was very interesting and provoked some very interesting points. So thank you for that, and good luck in if you're new to the area, good luck with the job and good luck living here as well.
Thank you.
So item 7, the local plan. Graham's going to present. Graham Holland, is that right?
Yeah, that's right, Chair. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Okay. Do you want to? I think with this item, Graham, I can see the area specific issues which are coming up with it. So we would, if you can sort of think about how we can engage with all this process. I think that's an important point to us all here.
Yeah, that's absolutely, Chair. So hopefully that presentation's come through and you can see that now. I'll start my video and then you can see me as well. So yes, just to, I suppose, give you some context and background as to where we are in the plan making process and the activities that we intend to be kind of undertaking over the short, medium and reasonably long term. And I suppose outline some of the opportunities for engagement and where we really value feedback on an ongoing basis to help us formulate and write planning content. So I'm working, there we go. So I represent a kind of a small and resourceful and dedicated team who's recently been through an examination in public, which is kind of towards the end of the process of a plan making journey, and I'll come on to that, and that's associated with a plan called Places for Everyone, and then I'll also touch on another plan that we're starting work on, which is Home Spaces Places, and just kind of give you some of the context around that. So why do we make a plan, I suppose, is the first question that many people ask. And I suppose the simple answer to that is that there's a basic legal requirement for us to do so, and that's set out in primary legislation. And to have a plan-led system, we need to have a plan, basically. What we do right and how we prepare that has to be based on up-to-date evidence, and what we say and present needs to be justified, and we're examined by independently appointed inspectors at the end of that process. And the test there is something that's called whether your plan is sound or not. And I've mentioned one of the words there, but whether what you've written is justified, effective, been positively prepared in meeting development needs, and is also consistent with national policy. And those are the key tests that we have to go through. So what's in a plan, I suppose, is the next question, and it covers many of the subject areas that are on the screen there, and some that aren't as well. And worth being really clear that, in the package of things like affordable housing, we're also talking about social housing alongside kind of a broad spectrum of housing products. But it's also about what we protect and what we value and what we see as important. And this is really an extension of, I guess, the council's corporate plan and aim and vision that's contained within that. But it's important to also recognise that this is about determining planning applications that come to the council. So as planners, I suppose we're not in the driving seat, as it were, in terms of delivering projects and delivering investment directly. What we do is respond to applications that come to us for planning permission, and this is about the framework of policies that guide that future ambition and those priorities. And that's why really engagement and with the public and with elected members is critical, and shaping that plan that everybody can be supportive of. So our intended timetable of what we intend to bring forward and when we want to do that is in something called our local development scheme. And that's also, we're also required to prepare that within legislation. So that's set out in the Planning and Compulsory Purchase Act as well. And within that, we kind of set out what the plans that we've got at the moment, which are in effect being used to determine applications, but also the future planning framework and our timetable for bringing that forward. The council's local development scheme was published in July 23, and that's on our website, available to download. And within that, it sets out what our adopted plan is. So we currently use in determining planning applications, and those of you as members which are in part of speakers panel will be aware of these. Our unitary development plan, a Greater Manchester Joint Waste Plan, and a minerals plan, which effectively form a framework of planning policies. And those collectively are our local plan. And it's important to mention that in Tameside, our local plan is consists of a number of documents. It's not just a single document as it might be in another local planning authority area. But because we sit within that Greater Manchester context, we kind of provide our policy framework amongst a number of documents. So there's other material considerations that sit alongside that, and some of those are in what are called supplementary planning documents, and they might cover specific areas or subjects. They aren't part of the policies within these plans directly, but they provide further guidance on them, basically. And then within the local development scheme, we set out that what we would be bringing forward, which are the two plans which are mentioned here on the left. So effectively what we'll do is replace our unitary development plan with Places for Everyone and Home Spaces Places. And those four plans collectively will be our local planning framework. So Places for Everyone is the first plan that I mentioned there, and we're still in the midst of an examination at the moment. There were formal hearings that took place on that from November 2022 through to July 23. And that was preceded by us submitting the plan to the Secretary of State back in February 2022. We undertook pre-Christmas consultation into main modifications, which have been discussed through the examination hearings. And if you want to view any of the hearing content, that's still available to look at on YouTube via the examination website. And at the moment, we're awaiting a final report from the inspectors, and only when we receive that final report does the actual formal examination process conclude. So it gives you an indication in terms of an examination in itself that commenced in February 2022 and is not yet concluded. So it's almost a 2-year process from end to end. So in relation to that consultation just pre-Christmas, we received 177 responses, and all those are on the examination website. Should anyone want to look at those. Those have been divided in amongst the 9 boroughs preparing the plan jointly, and the inspectors are, as we understand, considering those and preparing their final report. And as set out in the local development scheme, our intention is to be able to potentially consider to adopt or not adopt the plan in early 2024. The second plan that I mentioned earlier is Home Spaces Places, and this will really replace any remaining elements of the unitary development plan which aren't otherwise covered by Places for Everyone. And that will need to conform with that general hierarchy of plan making from national policy through to Places for Everyone sub-regionally. We consulted on an integrated assessment in July and August last year, and we're currently in a plan scoping stage. And that really is kind of the purpose of the conversation this evening, is to kind of just put out there where we're at in terms of the stage of this plan and the opportunity to be engaged in this plan at a really early informative stage. So we've also been to the PEN network recently, the Council's Partnership and Engagement Network. There's some member engagement sessions, or session rather, in September 2023. Run by the head of planning at the time, and scrutiny. We've recently been to a conversation with scrutiny panel about plan making, as we move into this kind of formative stage of scoping out home spaces, places. In that scoping stage, we're working on a paper at the moment across these thematic areas, so these subject areas, which I think you probably, going back to earlier slides, you can see how those subject areas start to fit into those. And under the following headings, we'll be kind of presenting information, being really clear about what national policy requests us to do, providing some data information about that context and how we fit within that, what places everyone tells us that we need to do, because it is instructive in certain areas, and what we know locally, some of the issues and challenges are, and then posing some questions about perhaps how we should respond to that, or how it's best that the plan looks to respond to that. So what I want to do was just bring some of the early draft work around that, and this is only part of that, perhaps around the centres, just as an example about how visual that material will look to be, which is perhaps a little bit different than what you might become accustomed to with planning documents, which are obviously quite text heavy, and we'll get to that point in due course. But at this stage, we think it's really important to engage people with material that is digestible and kind of presents what we're looking to do in a logical format. I think it's just really helpful within that local development scheme to be clear on timescales as well. Those of you that will be aware in terms of Places for Everyone, which started life as the Greater Manchester Spatial Framework, the commitment to prepare that was first made in 2014. And you can see on there the October 2016 in terms of first and early consultations on that. And I've already alluded to the examination process, which is ongoing, and we'll only conclude as and when we get that inspector's report shortly. So preparing and making plans is by no means a short process at all, and there's always the challenges and difficulties of trying to prepare a static and fixed plan in a world that never stops changing. And just to allude to some of those, pre-Christmas, there's a new national planning policy framework which was issued for us to reflect on, and that has implications for what we bring forward. We've got the Levelling Up and Regeneration Act, which again changes the potential primary framework of legislative context in which we have to write a plan. There's always the potential for political change as well, and intervention in plan making. Although what I would say is that preparing and bringing forward Places for Everyone ensures that the council has what the government terms as an up-to-date local plan in place. But really, I suppose it's just about, because we are at that formative and scoping stage, being clear that this is an opportunity at an early place with home spaces, places for community involvement, and for people to the two web pages there for the two plans as they way to stay up to date in terms of content and material, but also if people wish to be notified directly about engagement that we're doing around plan making, is to visit our community involvement page and register their details, and they become part of our network of interested parties and individuals which are contacted at various points in the plan making process. So that just concludes slides from me, Chair, and opportunity for questions, comments, and
thank you. Have we questions, Ben, from people?
We do, Chair. So I can see we've got Councillor Beardmore's hand raised, Councillor Dickinson's, and Councillor Billington's.
Right, Christine first.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you, Graham. I think that was a really good presentation. I have got a little beef about member engagement. I don't feel that one meeting, our meeting for that we had in September, really constitutes member engagement. I know, I mean, we do know our communities pretty well, and you know, we do know what issues are around, and you said about protect value and what we think is important. I feel that we should be a little bit more involved in this, and I'd like to know what the sort of plans for that are really.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. I'm able to take that, Chair. I mean, similar feedback, I suppose, from our conversation with scrutiny panel very recently in terms of member engagement, not only in elected members, I suppose being able to share that knowledge and expertise of kind of knowing your area, but also as vehicles about spreading the message, I suppose, about what we're doing here and the opportunity for engagement. What we're doing at the moment is progressing a paper about how members are engaged through the plan making process, and then providing an appropriate forum for that kind of regular feedback and dialogue, so that members have an opportunity to do that on an ongoing and proactive basis. Because I agree with you in terms of the time that's been available to do that. It's not sufficient really to understand the complexity of a lot of the information that is available, but also to be able to discuss that in kind of an open and transparent way, and be able to ask questions about what is often very emotive and sensitive subject area that people feel quite passionate about. And it won't be missed on you that people planning is often quite contentious and in the middle of balancing lots of competing priorities, and therefore attracts that. So absolutely, we recognise the importance of full and frank member conversation, and are progressing a report at the moment around that, so we can kind of establish a way of doing that that's appropriate.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I can't remember who was next.
We've got Councillor
right.
Dickinson and Councillor Billington.
Right, go on then, Dory. You shouted louder anyway.
Graham, are you strategic planning?
That's right, yes.
You're on the strategic planning team?
Yes, correct, yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to have a real moan here. I've been on planning committee since 1992. I have never heard about homes, spaces and places. Why has this not been to the planning committee as a development, as a learning where we can have an input? I've never heard about it. Places for Everyone is a Greater Manchester document, and yes, I get it, and I'm interested, but I'm not as interested as I am in the unitary development plan, which I have to work from as a councillor and a member of the committee. So I'm presuming home, spaces, places update that. I don't know, and that's not good.
Replaces it.
Sorry?
It replaces it, I believe.
Yes, well, why haven't I, as a member of the planning committee, heard of it? I'm making decisions, and I'm still making decisions on a 20-year-old plan. Okay. So why aren't strategic planning and planning talking together where we can learn?
Yeah, that's fine. So home spaces places as a plan is something that we've only just started a journey on. So I suppose that's what, and really the purpose of coming to the neighbourhood forums, to scrutiny panel, to the PEN network, in terms of kind of building awareness about this programme of work that we're commencing around scoping out what that plan will do. I suppose the ambition of in terms of member engagement and having an opportunity for dialogue will be about broadening that conversation and ensuring that people are aware about what that plan will look to do. I think the other part to your observation there, just around places for everyone, and to be clear, so places for everyone will replace some of the content of the unitary development plan, and case officers will be.
I've had some training on it. Should we not have seen it or had an input?
Yeah, so case officers, we're currently looking at a member training programme as well, as to how we kind of build that in, and how those policies, which will start to become relevant in terms of making decisions on planning applications, are picked up, as you say, through training and member development for the speakers panel. And I'll certainly take that away and pick up a further conversation
Can I just interrupt you, Graham? You're talking about officers and you're saying that they need it to make decisions. They don't make decisions. They give us an agenda and a report with a recommendation, but it's the speakers panel that make recommendations, and it's the speakers panel that can get it so wrong when it goes to appeal. So really and truly, we should be at the forefront of any document like this, to have a members session to say what you're doing, what you're not doing, what we think. I've never heard of it. I honestly have not heard of this document.
And I just second that, having I don't sit on planning, as you know, but having been to many planning meetings and having planning at the forefront in Mosley, I've never come across this either. So I was quite surprised to read it and very intrigued to read about that. So yeah, I second members' training of some sort.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, so Liam, do you want to come in at this point?
Yeah, just following on from that. I was always under the impression that the UDP would be done, but they have to do the Greater Manchester Spatial Framework first. Our places for everyone is now known. I'm just going to pass a comment. I don't expect an answer to this, but I think the level of responses is quite poor. And that is in relation to the most recent round of consultations. There's been many more thousands prior to that. It's a shame that obviously those previous comments have not been taken in. And it seems to me that the agenda of the combined authority is to do death by consultation. So therefore, you don't get as many responses. They're wanting people to not bother responding to it. It's not the fact that people agree with it and they're satisfied in not responding to it. It's the fact that you keep on throwing out consultation to the consultation without actually making a decision.
You're breaking up a little bit there, Liam.
Just one more. I'll take that.
So my question is for Councillor Jackson, as she is the executive member for planning and transport. In terms of, developing a local plan, how will they enforce? Because we have a heritage area in Staley Bridge at the moment, and it's not being enforced. One of the worst areas affected is Market Street. And from what I see there is the erosion of planning control there and the lack of enforcement has led it to look like a third world country. So what are you doing to ensure that those planning rules, which are in place now, are enforced?
If you notice anything suspicious, speak to a member of staff.
Do you want to come in there, Jan?
Yeah, I mean, I have put my hand up actually, Chair. I don't know what that noise is in the background. So, I mean, the local plan, as Graham has said, I do think, I mean, like the last training session that we had, which Melanie Hale gave us, I thought was one of the best training sessions personally that I've attended, that I learned a lot. I mean, not that, I knew a little bit, but I learned far more. But I really do want a training session going forward which incorporates councillors, but rather than be shown a presentation. Sorry?
And the planning committee.
And the planning committee, yeah, I totally agree with you, Doreen. And conversations do need to be had with you. You are at the forefront, and you're the decision-making body over plans. So, I accept that. But I want member involvement and at the forefront, but also I want us to have a workshop to do something. We have too many, I think, members training sessions, where we're presented, we do presentations, but there's no participation, there's nothing for us to get together in little groups and produce something. So I would like to see a workshop going forward and a members briefing where there is more participation from members. So going towards the local plan, of course, nobody knows our communities better than elected members.
Yeah.
And it's that information that needs to be fed through to members. So it has to be, to officers. So it has to be a two-way. If we're going to produce a local plan, and this is our opportunity to do it, then we should have a massive input in that, because we're the eyes and ears of our communities.
Well,
With
Jo,
regards to
you're the cabinet member. Why haven't you done this already? You've been in the post for over 18 months. I know you had a break where you were suspended for a bit, but
I think you're going a bit too far now, Liam.
I'm not. I'm getting to the nitty gritty of business. You know, it is your responsibility. You paid over £20,000 for this. You should have organised this with members and communicated this way in advance. And I think we're way far down the line now, but I'll leave you to answer my question around enforcement, if you can do, please.
Well, enforcement, I mean, obviously, that's Emma's brief. That's nothing to do with my brief, Liam, if you looked at the remit. Oh, planning enforcement.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, we'll be looking at that. I mean, Market Street, we've raised referrals and issues about Market Street, as I'm sure you have, with regards to parking and the fact that people aren't being respectful of what is taking place there. They've waited too long, businesses, for something to happen.
Can I just pull this together a bit? Just in terms of, I think where we do agree is we see the need for sort of member training to bring us up to date with the timetables and etc. When Graham's produced this paper. But I think what's coming from this meeting is that I think we would agree that we need workshops, and I would say it's in the plural really, because I think there's a whole range of different issues, and I mean whether we do it on an issue on a specific area basis. I mean, we'd have particular issues around, say, like the design code for Stalybridge West, that area, or maybe sort of conservation areas Liam's mentioned in around Stalybridge, or in Carbrook or whatever. Other people have other issues in their area. So there's an issue based. Which we need to look at, but also there's an area-based thing as well. So I think it's a program of sort of involvement, engagement that we'd be looking for. Has anybody else got comments?
Well,
Julian's been waiting quite a long time.
It would be good to see you at a briefing, at a members training session, Liam, actually.
Sorry, I'm getting lost here. So have we got Julian wanting to come in?
Oh, he did do. Julian Jackson wanted to, yes.
Yeah, he's he's coming.
Yeah, go on then, Julian.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so
and then you win.
Hold on, Liam.
I know we're getting I know we're getting towards the end of the meeting, but I've listened to everything the members have said, and I've listened to Graham's presentation, also Councillor Jackson. It's just really to emphasise this is the start of the journey when it comes to this local plan to home spaces and places, and what we really want to do. We want to engage with members going forward, and that was really the point of bringing this presentation, really. And so I'd be really interested in hearing views about how that engagement takes place. As Graham said, we've got a paper that going forward it gives some structure in terms of ongoing engagement, but of course we want to talk to members about themes, places, and actually make sure there's meaningful engagement going forward. So I look forward to having those discussions over the next few weeks, because that's going to be really important in taking this plan forward.
Chair, can I just say, Julian, with the best respect in the world, the planning committee should be the first that know about new planning documents, because we're at the forefront of making decisions. And I had no idea about this new document. Surely, you know, somebody should have said, we've got this new document, let's get the planning committee in on a members training and we'll go through it with them. And then you take it to other members. But it's us that are making autonomous decisions.
Councillor Dickinson, just to respond to that, what we did do, we had the member training session in September. And so we've talked about the importance of the local plan, how it fits in with the places for everyone. And then we said, the next stage was to produce this document, and then we wanted to engage with members. It was very clear at that meeting that members wanted to engage. So that's the next stage. So
Julian, I get that. But I'm here on a Stalybridge forum, and it's the first time I've heard about it.
Yeah. Well, I apologise if that's been the case, but the intent for us is to make sure that the planning committee and the wider members are going to be involved in engagement and formulation of this plan going forward, because that's going to be really important for us.
Okay.
So this plan, just as I've got my hand up, so this plan is obviously very new, hence why we've got no knowledge of it. So that makes sense. Is that right?
Yes, that's absolutely right, Councillor.
If you can, yes, great. So obviously between September and now, it's not a massive, you know, it's only a few months ago. Yeah. Can I make a small request? So in Moseley, we have a Moseley Town Council, and there we're constantly talking about doing our own. Well, I say our, you know, so in Moseley doing our own plan, local plan. These conversations have been happening for a good few years. Can I request when we do this training, if possible, that we invite the chair of Moseley Town Council, Frank Travis, to this meeting, only because he's doing a number of things, and I just wanted to ensure that we are consistent throughout for all the towns.
That's absolutely fine, Councillor. Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any other points we want to make?
Sorry, my hand thing's
gone. Go on.
Yeah, I'm a little bit. I still would like to labour the point that I don't want to go to another meeting to be told what's going to be in the local plan. I think if you're serious about engagement, we need to be able to input into this. I think we've all got concerns about some of the planning applications that are going through.
Absolutely.
And the impact some of these are having on our areas.
Yeah.
And I think actually this is where the discussion stemmed from at the meeting in September. Now, I know you say it's new, but I mean, that was September. We haven't heard anything from it, and we're approaching the middle, going into February now. So I am conscious that, you know, I do not want to go to another session to be talked at. I want to have some input into this as a local councillor. So I would like some assurance on that, please.
I can give you assurances on that. Just talking about the gap between September and now, which it isn't a great amount of time, but Graham and his team, Graham and his team have been concentrating on the PFE, so the places for everyone. There's been a lot of resource from Tameside in that, and we're actually what he's been doing, and his team he's doing the scoping work for the local plan, and this is why we want to have this discussion now about how we engage with members. And I just want to give to Councillor Beersmore that those assurances are there that, you know, we want to have meaningful engagement around places, which is important. So planning is about places, about how we shape our places in the futures, and having a really kind of, you know, robust planning policy framework that we all want to be able to determine planning applications. So that's what that's how we'll work with you going forward over the next few weeks. I think Jeff wants to come in, actually, the interim head of planning.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Julian. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I've been here over the last few weeks, so I haven't quite caught up, I'll be honest, with the September session and the outcomes. But just to reiterate really what Graham and Julian and Councillor Jackson were saying, you know, we are at an early stage of the process, and it is about wanting to engage people. It's not talking at people at all. It is that genuine engagement. But I also wanted to pick up on the issues that Councillor Billington raised earlier. I've heard Market Street reference, but again, haven't had the opportunity to look at any issues in detail. So obviously in terms of planning enforcement, we'll be taking stock of any investigations that we can take forward, and obviously liaising. You saw earlier on the meeting Emma Varnum and her team, so I'm aware there'll be other parts of Place Directorate and colleagues who can support any efforts there. So just let you know, I am here and it's good to be here, and both on the policy development and the enforcement issues. We'll be taking those things forward appropriately. All right, thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. Is there any other points that people want to raise? Any more hands up, Ben?
No, there aren't, Chair, and there's no questions in the inbox either.
Okay, thank you. Just to sort of sum up, I think we've had this reassurance from Julian and the new interim head of planning that we will be fully engaged. Could I suggest, Graham, that one of the ways that we could be give us reassurance on that is that if we see a draft, if you send your paper around as draft for comment by members as to look at the engagement strategy you're proposing, rather than have it go to formal committee first, so that we could input back.
Yeah, I'll take that away and pick that up as a conversation with Julian and perhaps come back to you, Chair, if that's okay.
People are happy with that? Does people think that's a reasonable way forward?
Well, yeah, I suppose.
Sorry?
Yes, I suppose.
Don't sound so enthusiastic.
Well, I mean, no. To say, I think if it was meaningful, yes, I would be happy with it. Yes. I think that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
but it really does have to be meaningful.
Yeah. I would support that. Yeah. So Graham, I think you've got a very clear idea of where we're coming from. We've got sort of people from sort of Mossley, Stalybridge wanting to get very much engaged. I'm sure people in Duckenfield do too. So if you could make sure that paper, if you could have a discussion, and as I say, we want to be engaged at the beginning of the process and not at the end of the process. Yeah. And I will take you up on one point. I don't think that the plan's obviously it's important in the legal sense, but it's much more important to us in terms of an area development and place development sense, and how we can sort of deliver for residents in our towns. And that is where we'll be looking at it from. We want the legals to follow that, really, in terms of being able to enforce what we want to deliver for our residents. So on that note, I'm going to close that item, and our next meeting's in March, isn't it, Ben?
It is, Chair. We will, I think, in writing saying it is the 20th of March.
Yeah, and I think we've discussed, when I discussed this with Jed earlier, that we're hoping to make this a face-to-face meeting, possibly in George Lawton Hall. I don't know if that's news to you, Ben, but we'll pick that up later anyway.
You are welcome in Mossley.
If it's going to be
that's very generous of you, Taff.
Can I just be back on that? If it's going to be a load of presentations thrown at us, I'd rather it be on Zoom, to be honest. I don't really see the point meeting in person for it. Yeah. And a number of these presentations, I feel, should be reserved for member development as well. So if that can be fed back, please.
Councillor Billington, I thought you wanted face to face like myself for many years. I would benefit from it, and hopefully try and get our our public to be more engaged and attend these.
Absolutely, Taff. And I would appreciate that if we return to the old district assembly model. But having a number of these items which aren't really in the nitty gritty of what our residents expect of us. A lot of this is quite generic, broadly across Tameside. And, if you wanted to do that, have a Tameside forum. We don't need 4 individual meetings where officers are spending, 4 nights repeating the same thing. And we could all attend that. Otherwise, if we had something which was more localised, I'd be more than happy to have it in person. Until then,
right. Well, we will take people's varying views into account. Right.
Yeah, it needs to be localised. We've been saying it for years, and it needs to be in person.
Yeah, absolutely. So on that note, can I thank everybody for attending, and we'll see you wherever